I'm doing a podcast here to introduce you to the work that I did on Meister Eckhart and C.G. Jung on the vocation of the self. This is a book I published in June of 2024. And I'm giving a workshop at the C.G. Jung Institute of San Francisco on May 30th, 2026, this year from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for our workshop. I hope some of you will be able to attend. So I want to begin with the reading of the evaluation that was done for my senior thesis. It was a preface by William Everson, who was my mentor and teacher at UC Santa Cruz. And he was formerly Brother Antoninus of the Dominican Order in Oakland, California. So I had the good fortune to be mentored by him at UCSC, and he wrote the evaluation for my senior thesis, which later became the subject for my book. It's called The Evaluation of Comprehensive Examination of Stephen Herrmann's Senior Thesis. And Bill had this to say. Stephen Herrmann has written a most impressive thesis on the relationship between spirituality and psychology as exemplified in the writings of the 14th-century mystical theologian Meister Eckhart, whose work was condemned after his death, but survived underground to reemerge in this century as the link between East and West. What Eastern sages point to in Eckhart is his positing of a metaphysical ground, or Grund, an unspecified totality of divinity existent beyond and above the Trinity. Though this tenet was not the reason for Eckhart's condemnation, now widely regarded as mistaken, nevertheless a pall still lingers, beclouding his name. Any clarification is welcome, therefore, and Stephen's bringing to bear the empirical psychology of C.G. Jung paves the way for one approach to the Eckhart hypothesis. Not that psychological empiricism can confirm theological attribution, since they belong to different categories of being. Nevertheless, a demonstrable affinity suggests parallel correspondences that are intriguing. Thus, the Trinitarian model, familiar everywhere in terrestrial consciousness, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, while not confirming the Trinity in any absolute sense, does enhance the doctrine in our eyes and affirms its fitness. And thus, Jung's positing of the psychoid, a broad psychic dimension suggested by Eckhart's ground, is rendered persuasive by correspondence to its model. For both Jung and Eckhart agree that the unfolding of the self is the primary agency in the quest for the meaning of existence, and both agree that this process begins with a summons from beyond the quotidian consciousness. The roots are religious, but Jung's empirical psychology asserts the same transcendental dimension in the hearing of the call and the response to its summons. These are the implications that govern the approach of Jung to Eckhart and Stephen to them both. Stephen's distinction, then, his insight that takes his contribution beyond the mere tracing of the correlation of Jung to Eckhart, important though that is, lies in his emphasis on the crucial factor of vocation as the essential ingredient in the answer to the summons, the element that brings both masters into focus, both in the fulfillment of his project and his aim. It is not surprising that he should be more conversant with the nomenclature and methodology of Jung's system, of which he has made a profound study over the course of several years under expert direction, than the theology of Meister Eckhart, which he undertook as an adjunct of that study. And yet Stephen's thesis, so challenging in its own right, directed as it is to the healing of our divergence between psychology and religion, and the healing in our global culture between Western and Eastern perspectives, that his contribution, tentative as it appears before such awesome issues, provides a significant clue. He is to be commended for his courage and psychological perspicacity. Clearly, this work deserves honors. William Everson, formerly Brother Antoninus, February 5th, 1983, University of California at Santa Cruz. And now I want to read to you a couple of passages from my opening note. It may take readers time to adjust to my unusual use of theological terminology in this book. In the text, I discuss the Paraclete, the third person of the Trinity, and as such, an archetype that is unique and distinct from the Father and the Son, and at the same time, one with them. The Trinity forms a unity of the Father and the Son, and the third person emanates from the empirical and metaphysical ground in the human psyche, which extends to the world of matter and the cosmos. Yet, if the reader will keep in mind that I never read the Old or New Testament before I read Eckhart, then it will become clear why. I am preferencing the birth of the Paraclete over the birth of Christ in the human soul, as the new way in postmodern times. As a post-Jungian, Christ is to us an image of the self, not the all. The all in Eckhart's theology is the ground, the Grund, which is always finally unrepresentable by any word, idea, or image. My exposure to Christianity was first through a Jungian lens. Having read much of Jung's collected writings and many books by classical Jungians before I ever set foot on the University of California, Santa Cruz campus where I wrote my thesis, I see and understand Christianity through Eckhart's eyes as a post-Christian teacher and preacher, and also through Jung's eyes. Therefore, when I say post-Christian, I mean that Eckhart and Jung both saw themselves as incarnating two imprints that come after Christ, not the imprinter, but the imprint. So this gives you an idea of the beginnings of the book. And in the workshop that I'm going to be leading on May 30th, I will be going into the writings of Carl Jung on Meister Eckhart. There are over 80 passages in Jung's collected writings. In his seminars at the Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, and also in his letters. And I cover all of these references in my book, as well as some references that I've discovered in his Red book that come, I think, were inspired directly from Eckhart's works. Jung's early reading of Eckhart. Jung was reading Meister Eckhart at the age of 15. He found Eckhart's sermons in his father's library. And Eckhart was the most important theologian to Carl Jung of all the theologians he studied. In his memoir, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections, Jung said that only in Meister Eckhart did I feel the breath of life. And in his introduction to the secret of the golden flower in his alchemical studies, a Chinese alchemical text, Jung said that action through non-action, letting go of oneself as taught by Meister Eckhart, became for me the key that opened the door to the way. So you will be able to see through the reading of my book how profound the impact of Meister Eckhart on C.G. Jung's psychology of individuation really was, and the transformation of the personality. So I hope you'll take a look at the workshop. It's hosted by the C.G. Jung Institute, and you can find it online. I've also posted it on LinkedIn and my Facebook page. So I hope to see some of you there, and others who may be interested in getting a deep reading of Jung's thoughts about Meister Eckhart. Can also purchase a copy of my book at Amazon.com or Amazon Books. So thank you for listening. Bye-bye.